hip hop is one of the most powerful tools that we have. You know, Kendrick Lamar just won a Nobel Peace Prize. Like, let that sink in. You know, Kendrick Lamar just won a Nobel Peace Prize for literature. So if that doesn't let you know the power of hip hop, of this culture, of creating, of our stories, of our urban myths and legends and our grandparents, that just validates all of that stuff.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Prodance Talks. My name is Paul. I'm the channel owner of ProdanceTV, and I've been active in the breaking community for about 20 years. And due to all the recent happenings, I started Prodance Talks. Every time we feature another guest, ranging from dancers, DJs, promoters to MCs. We've had some great guests so far already, and today it's my privilege to talk to Marlon, aka Marley, repping Havikoro crew, Houston, Texas, USA. So many of us, many of you would know him from the epic moments of freestyle session, over the top, b-boy cities, numerous breaking events, as well as his great rhymes and poets as well. He did at freestyle sessions, numerous times also at the BC1 events. And for me, Marlon is like style for years, he's one of the great examples how to build that longevity in the community, and also what it means to carry on tradition, to carry on culture. So Marlon, happy to welcome you at Prodance Talks, man. How you been?
What's going on, family? I'm good, man. I'm good. Definitely blessed out here in Texas. You know, it's getting a little hot, but blessed, man, especially with everything that's going around, you know, what's going on. And politically, you know, it's crazy over here, but definitely blessed.
How's the situation over there? Is Houston like on a lockdown, or is it getting less strict to how it was, let's say, a month ago?
You know, it's the climate in the U.S. is just crazy, simply because, you know, you have two kinds of people: the people that want to do this right, and then you have the people that, no, you're suffocating me. I'm ready to go outside. I'm ready to get everything open. I fall under I have a family, you know what I mean? So I want to do this right. And not only that, I represent a lot of underserved areas and communities with my students and things like that. So those are the people that suffer the most, and simply those are the people that I care about. And unfortunately, when you know, these pandemics hit, they always hit, you know, our communities of color and our communities that are underserved. So for me, is I want to do things right. You know, I really believe that, you know, we should be getting more help for everyone instead of, you know, rushing to go work, you know, and risk being sick and things like that. So I haven't seen my mom in like 3 months, and I don't know if you know about Latina women in general,
family, right?
You know. And I told her, I was like, yo, I can't see you because I don't want to get you sick. And she goes, what does that matter? I'm like, you can die. And she goes, I'm already dead. so I mean, like, it's just that mentality of like, we're Latinos, man. You know, we want to hug people, want to touch. And I think B-boys and B-girls are like that. I think in our communities, when we see each other, we embrace each other. I don't think I've ever seen someone that I either have cipher with or recognize that I don't either hug or really embrace, right? And that's with everybody. And I think that's when do you know that you're a part of something, is I think when you get embraced. And oh my gosh, I love jams, because in the beginning of jams and at the end of jams, you spend like an hour just hugging people and connecting, and you know, and that's like my favorite part. Even in countries that you don't even speak their language, you're like hugging, and you know.
But that's the crazy thing. I mean, probably international events, international breaking festivals and everything, they will be like the last one in the road to open up again. And even if they open up, to what certain rules and regulations, like just as you mentioned, imagine we all have to keep that social distancing in a breaking jam. You know, it's like impossible. We have to get that connection going in the cipher, be close to that floor to give the energy to dancers and everything. So I think it will definitely take a while from now to really have that old situation as before. So yeah.
And I do want people to be safe, man. And that's the main thing. Is just, you know, I know that everyone's itching and everyone's like, yo, I have so much energy and things like that. And find that place for your for you to express yourself, man. Find that corner, man, because I think if we're rushing back to jams and events and things like that, I mean, you know, a lot of the dancers are young, and when you're young and you don't have any injuries, or, you know, you're not sick, or you don't have asthma and things like that, you're fearless, and you're gonna live forever, you know. But unfortunately our grandparents don't, and our friends and our community, so it's pretty tough. But I would rather play it safe, you know.
I can imagine. I think many people know you as a great dancer, as a great poet as well. But I think what not many people know is that you recently took a role as program director of the Iconoclast Artist, correct? Could you tell me what that organization does and what it stands for? Because I think from what I've read, it's a great initiative, you know.
So I started it. So I am a co-founder of Iconoclast Artist. Is myself, and I have a partner. And you know, I was a grant writer for years, and I worked with community engagements things. And I think I was put on this earth to connect with people. I think that's why dancing came so natural to me. I think that's why poetry and storytelling. And so, you know, one day I was sitting in a cubicle and I was like, how do you connect? How do you do like actual community work? How do you connect with young people and students and things like, how do you inspire? The education system here in the United States is not good. You know, and it just depends what state you go in. The average high school student here reads at a third grade reading level, which is horrible, horrible. So the one thing that I thought about is how do you connect with people is the storytelling, you know, storytelling and literature. I think it gets taught the wrong way. So I decided to create a program that really focused on empowering people and inspiring people with our stories, with things that we are into. Hip hop is one of the most powerful tools that we have. You know, Kendrick Lamar just won a Nobel Peace Prize. Like, let that sink in. You know, Kendrick Lamar just won a Nobel Peace Prize for literature. So if that doesn't let you know the power of hip hop, of this culture, of creating, of our stories, of our urban myths and legends and our grandparents, that just validates all of that stuff.
True.
You know, and to me, that there's no difference between Pablo Neruda and a Kendrick Lamar. It's just different times, you know? And so I took that energy with me in the class. I created a curriculum with a lot of teachers in our education system. And I asked them a simple question: if you were able to teach anything in your classroom, what would it be? And they lit up, man. Like, they lit up. Like, they were like, oh my gosh, I would teach this. I would teach this a writer. I would teach this author. And all of a sudden we created this curriculum and we started testing it out, and it just hit. The first year was just me in classrooms. It was me in 2 high schools. The second year after that, it was 8 high schools. The third year, it was 20 high schools. And then all of a sudden, we were in the prison system. We're working with kids that were incarcerated. So I don't know if you know about Texas. Texas, they'll lock you up as young as 10 years old.
Whoa.
It's a business, man. It's a business, and it's booming. And so there's this thing called the school to prison pipeline. And basically, these kids get tickets. They can't pay these tickets, so they give them some time in jail. And when they come out of jail, they violate their probation by something small, and all of a sudden, they're part of this system that just leads them into prison. And the system is just swallowing our kids. And so that is one of the goals, is to fight that school to prison pipeline. How do you help someone fight? Is you help them find themselves. And that's why I think B-boys and B-girls, we don't fall victims to a lot of things that just normal kids with peer pressure fall into, because we know who we are.
True.
We all of a sudden have this foundation of people that love us. Crews, like we social emotional support each other. There's the people in your group that you know that you can call to talk to, and then there's the people that, oh, I can only party with this guy. But that's the dope part about our culture, is that these crews, I remember, if it wouldn't been for Havikoro, you know, I don't know where I would be.
And even the great thing, it crosses every border, race, culture, whatever. It doesn't matter where you come from. It simply doesn't matter, you know. It crosses every line into that, because you share that same mutual understanding and feeling to on that creative part. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, so this program, you know, just started getting big. I started hiring high-level authors and artists that were published, award-winning writers, and man, it like, for me, it's very important to put the right people in front of people. That's why I'm a huge advocate for the people that represent our culture. It bothers me when I see the wrong people represent our culture or talk about our culture. And it's simply because, not because, oh, it should be me, because it causes damage. You do more damage. If you put the wrong person in front of people, you can cause more damage than good. You know what I mean? And so I would never go up and talk about the history of DJ. I could tell you who I love, but I can't be spitting facts like that, because I'm causing damage to the DJ community. And so that's the way I saw it. It's crazy how my belief system in hip hop transferred and translated into my career. And it's become a beautiful thing. So every year my students get to become a part of these anthologies. And so these are poetry books created by our students.
Wow.
And the dope part about it is, like, now we're doing it in Spanish. So we're the only program that works with students that have been here 2 years or less, because it's important to me, because I was an immigrant kid to the United States. I came here at 9 years old, and I remember not speaking English, and I remember feeling left out or invisible. When I started breaking, I had the thickest accent. You know what I mean? And I owe so much to this culture and this dance that I treat it in such high regard, because to me it is jazz, it is tap, it is ballet. It should be treated like that. Absolutely. When we undervalue or when we dilute what we do, what we're saying is that we're not as important as those other genres. And I don't believe that. I think we have so much to offer. This program, it is a reflection of my experience with hip hop. And I would rather teach Tupac in my classrooms, which I do. But ultimately, I do want to teach Dickinson and Frost and all these amazing greats. But for right now, I think we use hip hop as tools. We use hip hop as tools, and I love it because it's a great tool. It's a great tool, and then it goes beyond genres, and it goes beyond just cultures, and I mean, you know, who would ever known like a crew like Flomo would have been so influential on hip hop? That's crazy to me. Like, that bugs me out all the time, but that's true, because that's how powerful hip hop is. If you do it right, if you do it respectfully, if you do it with integrity, all of a sudden, like, it's an amazing tool, and it gives back to you.
Kind of the rules that you also get taught while being active with hip hop, you know, like having that mutual respect and understanding, and also for the people who were before you, you know, who laid that path before you, and you were able to use that path and try and rebuild it and make it take it to the next level. I think that's a very, very valuable thing. I mean, is it also part like the programs that you do? I think that's interesting what you mentioned also during the school periods. Something that they don't teach you at school is to look in that opportunities and try and see what hip hop can give you and have that creative state of mind. Is that something you focus on as well, to get their different state of mind apart from what they learn at school as well, so they think in opportunities?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, I love the word enlightenment. You know, I love the word enlightenment. It's, you know, to wake up, to understand your surroundings and your environments. I think understanding the situation that you're in is very important, as a human being, right? There's how many people live an entire lifetime without ever knowing themselves. You know, we look at the people that speak to themselves and we think they're crazy. Man, maybe they know something a lot. Maybe they know something more than we do. You know, to have a conversation with yourself, I think is very special. You know, and so yes, this is a class that is a creative space, right? Our kids really bug out when we give them the space to create and write and speak in their own voice. You know, one thing I say is I don't create safe spaces, I create brave spaces.
Nice.
Right? Because it's a lot of bravery to be yourself, especially amongst your peers when you're young. Can you imagine being young and writing a poem that makes you cry in front of your classmates? That's your nightmare right there. That's like almost the same nightmare as showing up to class in your underwear. You know what I mean? But it is being vulnerable. Like we're taught that we can't be vulnerable. We're taught that we can't express ourselves or you know, put that pain away. Like it's or whatever you're going through is not a big deal. Suck it up. You know, and it is a big deal, man. It's when a lot of us are being raised by single parents, when a lot of us don't have that healthy home life. All of a sudden there's this class that you get to look forward to that allows you to talk about that the word shit is not a big deal if you put it in your poem. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the word shit is the only thing that you can think of. That umbrellas your entire life right now. My life is shit. I would rather hear that than you pretend, you know, because I think right now we focus so much on pretending or competing for these imaginary careers that we don't even know if that's what we want to do with the rest of our lives. We ask kids that are 16, 17 years old, what are you going to do with your life? With the rest of my life? Like, damn, that's a big question to answer. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to be an accountant for 50 years. That's a crazy question to answer, and we're supposed to answer that. And if you don't answer that, there's something wrong with you. That's an insane question.
It's true.
And we're preparing these students to answer that question instead of who do you want to be? Like, do you want to be happy? Are you happy? Are you going on the right path? Let us help you find yourself. Instead, we're like, what's going to make me the most money, I guess? You know, and so that just blows my mind all the time on like how we put all these expectations on these young kids who don't know, they don't have an idea of what money is. They've never left a lot of our kids don't leave their communities. They don't leave their blocks, you know? And so when you limit our students all the time, like, why not join a gang, man? Like, why not? All of a sudden, you know, the same love that we get from our crews, it's the same love that these kids get from their gangs, you know? And it blows people's minds when I go give talks and they're like, you know, gangs are bad. I'm like, gangs are the only people that tell them I love you. You know? And so it's just, it's how do you not understand that?
Mm-hmm.
If I get a group of people that tell me I love you, I'll kill for them. I'll fight for them. I'll go to prison.
That's the only thing you have, you know. There's nothing to fall back on and everything, you know. I mean, your focus is on writing a lot and is on poem, and I think that's really amazing. Was that always from the beginning when you started breaking? Was that also always part of your nature to have, or how did you start with that?
So when my I have this horrible joke. It's such a dad joke.
You know,
When I was 9 years old, I always say that, and I say this in my show. When I was 9 years old, my mom, every time I was bad, she would make me read Pablo Neruda poetry. So by age 10, I was the most romantic kid in the world. But
wow.
that's true. So yeah, my mom would make me and my brothers read poetry. She's a romantic, man. She's a super romantic. But she would make us read Federico Lorca and Pablo Neruda, and and if you've ever read Pablo Neruda, he's on another level. He's just he embodies what a poet is, right? He wears a beret and a pipe, and he's a pimp. But I, reading him, I loved it, but I couldn't understand it, So when I first heard hip hop, so I don't know if you're very familiar with Southern hip hop. So Texas has his own twang, man. Like Texas has his own feel. And it's very gangsters. It's just they talk about Texas stuff, and if you know about Texas stuff, is very Texas. The first time I heard Gangstar, uh, blew my mind. The first time I heard Guru, you know, hear him talk about he had a different sound, and he had a bass line to his like it was jazz. It was everything combined of I didn't know what it was, but I knew I loved it. And from Guru, I went to this crew. Back in the day, there were crews, Diggable Planets. I'm cool like that. I'm cool like that. I'm cool. And I remember them coming in. We Beat to Rap, like yo, like it blew my mind because I was like, why are they speaking like that? You know what I mean? Like it's just, you gotta think about this because I was an immigrant kid who was trying to fit in this American culture, you know what I mean? And like really quick, when you don't speak a language, and that's one thing I love about Europe, by the way, is just I think that so many people speak so many different languages and it just gets picked up naturally. It's not something that because you guys always are like this,
Well, it's
hearing.
really because I was watching so many MTV back in the days, and everything was in English. We don't synchronize it in Dutch language, and also we have to learn the different languages because nobody cares to speak Dutch. So
Yeah.
somehow we need to communicate with people, and we've always been a country that talks to other people and travels and everything. But yeah, it's true. But
So I started writing, man. I started writing, not wanting to be a rapper. I knew that I wasn't hard enough to be a rapper. Rappers to me were like the coolest people in the world. And in the 90s, rappers were the coolest people in the world. NWA came in, straight out of Compton came in, and their energy and not caring what you thought. I'm gonna tell you what I think. That right there was my enlightenment moment because they hit it on the head. Because everything that they were talking about, they were including me in it. My the bad neighborhoods that we lived in, the drugs, the police, the brutality, the American system. And I was like, yo, like these guys are these are the smartest people ever. And then America was telling me like, no, these guys aren't smart, they're just angry, scary black people. And I was like, what? Like it was crazy to me. And then Tupac came in, and I was like, yo, like, how is this guy scary too? Because Tupac was spitting stuff that was so real. And all of a sudden I realized Tupac has a poetry book. And the there's a poem in there. It's called the Rose That Grew from the Concrete. And if you've never heard this poem, I would highly recommend it. And it's basically talking about how when you see a rose that's growing from a place that it's not supposed to grow at, you don't criticize that rose. Like you become in awe of that rose. You know, you celebrate that rose, even though it's an ugly rose. You still celebrate it because it's growing out of a place that it was not supposed to grow out of. After that, I I was like, I want to be a writer. That was in the beginning of my breaking journey. So it went hand in hand.
So it was
So
already connected straight from the beginning on. Wow.
breaking saved me physically, and poetry saved me emotionally.
Wow.
And without that combination, right? Without that combination, and then getting into Havikoro, without those perfectly aligned, planets in my life, I don't know what would have happened. I got my education from it. I got my leadership skills from it. I went to a university because of it. And like just these things that just naturally, not everyone gets blessed like that. We're able to move, man. Like we're able to move. It blows my mind. Like we're superheroes. Like, man, I see, like, honestly, man, listen, people think like I'm not a power move fan. I am a power move fan, bro. Like what Little G and them do, like yo, like these guys. There's this kid who just broke the record in '90s.
Yeah, Malish from Russia. The kid is 9 years old. It's incredible.
Let me tell you this. Back in the '90s, I don't know, way back in the '90s, I was known for like '90s. Bro, I hit 990s one time in my life.
Oh shit.
And I felt that I was the best, and like, yo, that's it. I'm the master of this. So if you tell me the idea back in the day, it was like, man, there's somebody that's gonna hit 27 or 35, or I would have been like, impossible. It's like your hand would rip off, like like it just, I am such a fan of what we create. Every other dance has its foundation, and it almost locks you in its foundation. There's not a ballet dancer that strays too far from it.
True.
But us, we encourage it. We encourage you to just push the craziest limit. Like, oh my gosh, there's this guy that I love his videos on Instagram. He does these variations of foundational steps, man. And these are the things that frustrate you as a dancer, where you're like, how come I didn't think of that? Like, he's doing things that might not be amazing to the normal person, but to like people that have practiced this for a long time, you're like, it's just mind-blowing.
Maybe you mean Jay from Legitimate Obstruction.
Yes.
He's this football guy that's behind the coffee machine, and
that's my man right there.
All these crazy variations on just foundation. It's crazy. Yeah.
That guy right there. But that's the other side of the spectrum, right? Like you get these amazing power moves, but then you get this like artistic flow. Like it's just it's like waves, right? Like these pounding waves, but then all of a sudden you get this like this guy just creating just flow, and I think you have to be in the culture in order to appreciate it, So I think that balance for me of writing, to be able to write, like to be able to write, and listen, I wasn't writing for anyone else but me. And the biggest things in my life were these stories that you grew up with from your parents and your grandparents, and these stories that kind of teach you lessons and things like that. And I always loved them, and I always remembered them. So every time I started traveling, I started just writing down the people that I would meet, and the conversations and the countries that you visit. And this is the one thing that I am forever indebted to this dance, is that it showed me the world.
Yeah,
it's shown a lot of us the world, like people that were not ever supposed to leave their neighborhood.
But also for me, I mean, what comes out of Houston, like not only Havikoro crew, but obviously Havikoro crew being as one of the pillars to show to the rest of the world what Houston is capable of, what they represent, and all of Texas as well. I mean, for me, Havikoro crew, for example, really has been able to put Texas on the global map, right?
Yeah.
But not only in the beginning when entering the Battle of the Years or the freestyle session from the footage that went all around the globe, but also to the more recent with the Break Free Community Center stuff and the online battles that they did. What do you think are some of those key success factors that you've guys been able to build that longevity in breaking and spread the message on the whole globe, man? I mean, it's an amazing thing.
I think the key thing, man, I know it's gonna sound kind of cheesy, but I think it's the love that we have for each other. That was the fuel. The fact that, you know, for a lot of us, all we had was each other. All we had was this dance. While you're in the journey, you don't understand the impact that you're creating. You know, I didn't understand, like, it blew my mind that people would know who I am. You know, it blew my, like, well, how do you know me again? Like, you know, when you live in Texas, you're living in an island. We're not New York. We're not the West Coast. We were in the forefront of, we are our own old school. You know, you're talking about the people that brought this dance into Texas. They were in our crew. These are the older members. They were there from the beginning. Rudy, Rex, Mario, Blaz, like all these guys, they're older than us. These are our old school. We didn't have like, yo, back in 73. No, like there is no 73, you know? And we had these people that were around and they were active. So I was very blessed to come in a period where I had all these dancers and artists around me that kind of were laying down the foundation that they thought it was, you know, because we didn't go to New York. And so when we would get criticized, it would really break my heart, because I'm just like, well, teach us. Well, teach us. You know, I remember humbling a lot of people like in New York, where like they would like talk trash. And I'm like, well, teach me. And they'd be like,
okay.
all of a sudden it gets quiet.
Probably.
All of a sudden it gets quiet, right? Because it really humbles you, right? Oh, how can I talk trash to someone that wants to learn or needs to learn? Because back in the day, we didn't have YouTube, man. So you had to understand that it was just basically a whole bunch of kids traveling that kind of were doing what they thought it was. You know, so that's why my Top Rock looked like house, because we had a ton of house dancers in our crew, and I loved house. And we had freestyle dancers. You know, for a long time, my neck, when I would Top Rock, it would move, because I love hip hop, man. Like, I love hip hop. And so I wasn't doing this. I wasn't doing it because we didn't know about that.
I remember you guys put out a trailer, or maybe it was even a DVD, that you showcased all of the members of Havikoro crew and the guys who were related to that crew. And there was so many different styles. And I remember watching that video, and my mind was kind of blown. I was like, damn, they're like all around, you know, like they're all around.
Yeah. Great. And everybody dances. And this is the thing that we all practice together. There was no, okay, Tuesday's popping, Wednesday's house. No, it's like whoever got there first got to put on their mixtape. And you're like, oh, damn it, someone put house. but that's, it influences you. It like everyone in our crew loves house. Everyone in our crew loves hip hop. Everyone in our crew loves popping. So we respect it so much. Like, we're not tunnel vision. We're dancers. And I think that hurt us so much. We would lose all the time, you know? And we would lose all the time because we had all these judges that were so purist about, like, yo, why are y'all break like that? Like, that's not breaking. Or, you know, and I'm like, what? Like, that's breaking to me, you know? And I think Ivan says one of the best lines I've ever heard, where he's like, if I go in a cypher and I do backflip, 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 backspin, that might not be a dance to you, but that's a dance to me. That's it, man. And it hurt us. It hurt us as competition went, because I think when you think of our crew, if you know a crew, all of a sudden in your mind, oh man, they must have won a lot. Nah, man, we'll lose all the time, you know? And it was like we were second place champs all the time, you know? And but I think to us I think it's it was cool to lose the way we danced, you know. And I always say it,
yourself, right? Yeah.
I would rather lose like me than win like you.
Yeah. Nice.
Because me dancing like you, then that means I'm turning my back on who I am and who my group is. And so I cannot, we can't allow ourselves to do it.
Absolutely.
And it's so crazy because you have a lot of very high level dancers that the world knows, but we still have integrity.